Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to draw a simple cartoon head. We're going to start with the basics and a little technique called the circle and U. The circle and U can be used to make all kinds of different cartoon heads and different shapes and personalities, including animals. And I'll show you some of that today. So I'm going to start with just some basic copy paper and a pencil. Once I start getting my head down and drawing, I might get a little quieter. So I'm sorry if it makes it hard to hear me. Oh, just drew my pencil. Alright, so I'm going to start by drawing some simple circles like we had done before, keeping it loose, letting my whole arm move. I'm not going to lay my arm on the table and draw with just my hand. I'm going to let my whole arm all the way through to the shoulder move, keep it nice and loose, and I'm going to start by just drawing 4 circles on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Real nice loose circles. Not getting too hung up on it. I'm not being too controlled. Kind of letting it loose and flow. And then from each one of these, I'm going to draw a U. And I'm not going to put the U smack dab down the middle. I'm going to start down one side, and I'm going to draw a U shape that comes all the way up and touches. And notice how my U is kind of like off to the side. And that's a pretty big, long, pointy U. It's almost about half the whole head. So then I'm going to draw a really little U, or not a really little U, but a little U, a great big U. And then for this one, I will draw kind of a round U. So when I say a U, obviously it's not just a U. It's kind of a whole bunch of shapes. So I've got my circle and my U formation. This is going to be the foundation to draw tons of different character styles. Okay, and we'll talk about how to do that as we move forward. We'll have a few assignments where we mess around with that. Alright guys, so take 2 minutes and draw 4 circle and U shapes as shown here. So I need a center line for my eyes. Okay, I'm going to set this aside real quick. If I'm drawing a real person with real proportions, they've got this top part of their head, and then they've got the face. And if I go from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin, about halfway down is where their eyes are. And everyone's like, no, that's too low, it's too low. But it's actually true. So that's where the eyes would go. And when you put the eyes there, I'll just show you that later. And then about halfway down from there is the nose. So the nose would go here. And then we got this eyes over here. And then halfway down from there, the mouth kind of sits on that line. So you could see how that line is where the mouth sits. It's not halfway, it's sitting on top of the halfway. That means there's less space above the lip than below the lip. And then this is, let's say this is the jaw, where the nose is and where the eyes are, that's where the ear fits in. And it tucks into the jaw at the bottom, is where the ear should tuck in. And then you're like, but that guy looks crazy. He's got all this space here. And then I'm going to add hair to it. And almost all of this is the hair. So and the neck's going to come out behind the ear and under here. So normal human proportions, the eyes are halfway, the nose is halfway from there, the mouth sits on top of the halfway line, and the eyes and the nose tell you where the ears go. Those are normal cartoon proportions. We're not going to use totally normal cartoon proportions, though. So those are some decisions you're going to have to make. So for my first one, I'll put the eyes in the middle. I'll draw a little eye line, and I'm thinking about a little curve. Do you see how it's curving a little? And this one, I'm going to put the eyes a little low. So I've definitely got more than half above the line than below the line. And this one, I'm going to put it high. So now I've got less above and more below. And then this one, I'm going to put it a little low too. Okay. Now I need the center of the face. And we're always going to draw a 3/4 view in this class. So when I look at this guy, he is in a 3/4 view. So he's not facing directly at me. If he was facing me directly, he would probably look more like this. Everything would be pretty much symmetrical if he was facing straight at me. So I've got this guy here. This is a head-on view or a straight view. So I got my 3/4, my straight. And the last one I'm going to draw is he's looking all the way to the side. So he's still going to have this look. But the ear is going to be much closer this time to the center of the head. The eye is going to actually be best represented as a triangle. Lips are also a triangle. And what happens here, the character is looking all the way to the side. Hair is going to start coming down the neck a little bit. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about the neck as we go forward. So this is called a profile. And you're looking straight at the side. So we've got a 3/4, a straight, and a profile. The problem with the straight and the profile is it's hard to show overlapping parts. So it's hard to show which parts are in front of other parts necessarily, and it tends to be flattening. You don't only want to draw in 3/4 view, but it's harder to learn, but it's also easier to show dimension and three-dimensionality. So as an example, I've got my ear in front of my jaw and my nose, and then my other cheek, all overlapping. My eye, my nose, my eye, everything is kind of like in order going back into space. It makes it much easier to draw dimensionally if you draw in what's called a 3/4 view. That means that instead of putting the center line of the face down the center or on the front edge, I have to put it off to the side. And this isn't a true 3/4 because you could see if I divided that wouldn't be 3/4. But it's some kind of a partial turn. and that's all we're really going for. So I'm going to take my original 3. I've got my circle and U set up, and now all I need to do is create my center line. So I'm going to draw a center line, and this is the center of my face. And this guy I'm going to actually, no, I'm not doing the same side. Kind of turn them a little more towards us. So I've got all these center lines. Now this is called the cross. The eye line and the center line of the face is called the cross. And the cross helps me lay out my whole face. Without the cross, it's hard for me to align everything well and make everything fit where it's supposed to. And I'm going to draw some real simple features. If you want to draw more complex features, you can. So I'm going to just kind of draw circles for the eyes. This one I'll kind of draw oval sideways eyes. This one here I'm going to do big circles. Maybe it's slightly squared off on the tops. And this one I'm just going to do little circles. Okay? So notice how my eyes are on either side of the line. They should be about the same amount of spacing from the line, more or less. Okay? Now we're going to talk a little bit about the nose. The nose, when I draw a nose and I draw something like this, I'm not drawing the whole nose. I'm drawing the outside edge of the nose, right? So a whole nose, if I was to draw a nose like this is just the outside edge of the nose. But the bridge of the nose, the flat front of the nose, goes all the way over here. The side of the nose goes down, right? Then I have the eye. But on the other side, I might not see all that. My eye might be like touching or even cut off partially by the nose. Do you see that? So when I draw my nose line, I'm going to push it towards the eye that's on the far side of the head, the side of the head that's turning away from us. Okay, so it'll always be the side that's closest to the edge. So here I'm going to take this person, and I'm going to use like a number 7 nose. It's like an upside down number 7. This one I'm going to use a teeny tiny, or like a C nose, a little C nose. This guy, I'm going to kind of come in here. I'm going to give him a big J-style nose, but then I'm going to add a nostril with a little C, curved back C there. And then this one, I'm going to actually do a big C, and I'm also going to give him a little nostril like that. You guys see that? How I did that? Now, from the nose, I'm literally going to go all the way from the nose above the eye. Notice my nose line went above the eye. That line, except for on these ones, but these two it did. That line is going to connect to the brow. And I'm going to actually connect my brow line with the nose when I do that. So, some kind of eyebrow. This guy's eyes are lower. But I want to make the connection between the nose and the eyebrow there. This person, I'm just going to kind of apply the the eyebrow. I just want to imagine if the nose did extend, it would extend all the way. So this person, I'm going to actually give him kind of fuzzier eyebrows on the top, flat on the bottom, some kind of curved lines on the top. Now, the mouth should not end up over here now all of a sudden. Because you know the mouth should be centered, and since this line is called the center line, I should put the mouth on that line. So if I'm going to have a center line, that's where my mouth should line up. You guys see that? Okay, again, from the eye to the nose, that's a good place. Even if my ear is not super realistic, that's a good place for my ear, still tucking into the jaw. Okay? Added some ear detail, just went like this, this, this. Okay? Kind of like 3 curved shapes flipping back and forth. Give them some pupils. Alright? Now I'm going to fill out some hair on this character, and I feel like this character could have some like loose curly kind of hair, not super curly, but like a loose curl. And notice how my hair is going above the head. It's not painted on the hair. It's not. So here's some things people do. They'll just paint it on the head. So this person's just got hair painted on. Or they'll put it behind the head. So it's like the profile of the baldness is still there. It's just the hair literally goes behind, right? That's bad too. What we want to do is we want to combine those ideas, because some of the hair is going to come onto the face and some of the hair is going to go behind. Now, people also love to leave no hair down by the ears, but most people have hair by their ears, right by their ears, so, and down the back of their neck a little bit. So think about how this, combining both, and then you can erase the line of the head so the hair has volume. It's like a physical thing. It's not just flat and painted and unrelating to how it's growing out of the head. Okay, so this is a no, a yes. I want to see you guys all making hair like this all the time. For now, no line hair. That means like no hair like this. No single line, just a shape for now. And your shape can have a curly edge, or it can have an edge that's like a little more jagged. This person here, I'm going to make looking down, slightly cross-eyed. I'm going to leave a little shine in the eye, in the pupil. So this is the white part of the eye, the sclera. This is the dark part of the eye, the pupil. And there could also be a color part of the eye, but I'm not going to include that. Okay, so this character here, she also needs a mouth, or he. And I'm going to make the mouth kind of like a little surprised open mouth, just almost a circle. Okay, again, the ears will go between the eyes and the nose. Since they've got a small nose, they'll have smaller ears. I'm going to use that same method, that boom, 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 the 1, 2, 3. But I'm going to do it a little bit more graceful than that. I haven't decided what this character is going to be. It could be, a little boy. It could be a girl. It could be anything. So I'm going to try and draw it like a little kind of like quasi-surfer boy. So I'm going to make him have big swoopy hair coming here, almost over his ear. Curve it here. And then I'm going to actually have the body of his hair go in front of that. That little overlap right there, that's important, okay? And I'm going to have some of his hair come out the back here. Maybe like a little bit back here. Give him a skinny neck to show he's young. A lot you can do with necks. Okay, this guy I'm going to make his neck go a little more straight down. He's kind of like a little bit more, he's sitting up more, a little more like erect. Then this guy here, I'm gonna make him bald. I'll give him a big ear. I'll give him a double ear. He's got a separate lobe. Okay? You can see that? Notice my ear is not hanging off the side. When I draw a head, my ear's not out here like some kind of tag hanging off the edge. My ear is actually on top, right? With overlap. That's really important. You're going to hear me be like overlap, overlap, overlap. It's super important to me. And hopefully you will understand that, and the importance to me will translate to your grade. So this part, I'm going to leave all this bald, and I'm going to come across here. Notice how I passed this line a little. That's again going to show me some overlap, and I went around here. You guys see how that creates kind of like hairs wrapping around the back there? Okay. I'm also going to give him, well, I'm going to give him kind of, his cross is kind of dark. A lot of this underlying construction stuff, you won't make it so dark, but it's hard for the video to pick it up, so sometimes I draw it darker than I normally would. I wouldn't get dark till you're near the end here. So I'm going to show very little of his circle. Like his eyelids are like covering most of it. So I can use that to imply like an emotion, you know, suspicion, mistrust, disinterest, things like that, okay? And I'm going to kind of make his mouth a little bit of a frown. This lip line here, I should probably put it on this guy too. That's the shadow of the bottom lip. In a real lip, we've got the top lip, we've got the crack, and we've got the bottom lip here, and there's a deep shadow that comes here under the lip, okay? So when we draw a cartoon mouth, we're really just drawing the crack and the shadow line. Sometimes you'll draw some little corner lines. But we're trying to think about how this more realistic mouth and this cartoon mouth are related. So that's what that is. Sometimes you'll see that little line under the mouth. That's a shadow of the bottom lip. Okay? So that's what I did there. And he's going to have no neck. I'm going to literally just have his shoulders come out way over here. And I've done this a while. If you needed to, you could draw all the way through to show they're connected. Your drawing gets a little messy that way, but it will help. Since this is so high up, I'm going to show a little piece of hair there, showing kind of some relationship between the two. And then my last guy here, I'm going to kind of give myself a little room, lightly erase this cross. Might even make this line kind of point at the eyebrow. He's going to look up to the side there. And instead of a mouth, for his top lip just coming straight off the nose here, I'm going to make a mustache. Almost an upside down version of his eyebrow. Okay? And then I'm going to throw his ear in. Okay? And one thing I haven't talked about is the side of the face. And I'm going to actually get to that a little bit in a different video. So, but real quick, I'm going to just connect his brow down towards his eye, dipping in towards his eye. And then I'm going to give him a little piece of cheek here. And then all this can be some form of a beard. And the beard's going to go literally in front of the ear. I don't want to go so high up. And then this old man could wear a little hat or something, but I'm going to show a little hair coming through. Thinking about how a hat would sit on his head. Sorry, sometimes you got to turn the paper to get the angle that you want. Make sure this length and this length are pretty similar. to have a thickness. And then from where it's attached to the head, I'm going to use that to help me understand where the rest of that hat is. And making the hair come down to meet it. You guys see how I did that? Create some kind of interesting look. Now, a lot of beginners, the hardest thing for them is to know what to erase and what to keep. Like, what do I erase and what do I keep? What do I leave behind? Um, and a lot of times, beginners will come in here and they'll just start inking everything. That means they'll add Sharpie to everything, and not everything here is meant to be Sharpie. So, let me show you what I would do to add the Sharpie parts to this. Now, when I say Sharpie, what I'm really talking about is ink. So I could just use a Sharpie like this, but I could also ink a lot of different ways. This is a fine line pen. It's an 03 Pigma Micron. It's a good pen. It's pretty waterproof. The only thing about it is I'm going to get teeny tiny lines. I've got these big, bold, expressive characters. I probably don't want to use that. If I had a more realistic character, that might be exactly what I want to use. I also have this felt tip brush pen that I like to use sometimes. It's a good pen. Oh, before you ink, two things. One, make sure you don't have good clean paper underneath. Set that aside, okay? And if you have one paper, and you could just take, I'm going to take one of these clean ones, and this will be my one clean one for the, or one dirty one for the whole time. And I'm just going to write bleed sheet on it because it's for stuff to bleed through. So you can kind of see, I'll even test my pen. So you can see it's got a nice line. I can make the line thin. I can make the line thick. I can make the line change how thin or thick it is. You know, it's a good pen. It's not, doesn't have a huge range of shape because it's a felt pen, but it's really nice. The only problem is this one, sometimes when I use certain colors, it will smear. This pen has got nylon bristles, but they're separate bristles like a real brush. And this one I could actually get some, you know, like actual brush effects because I got, this brush is pretty dry and different, like wetter brush, same brush. This is not the same. This is a felt tip. It looks the same, but it's a felt tip. It doesn't have the individual bristles, so I can't change it quite as much, but it also doesn't get dry in the same way or give me those dry effects. Sometimes those dry effects are desirable. Here's another one with separate nylon fibers. You can see this one's not dry, flows really nicely. I can go from thin to thick, thick to thin, change it, get a lot of variety in my lines. This is a good one. Another one I'll use sometimes is I'll use just plain ink and a paintbrush. Make sure you've got a good quality paintbrush. This one's short, makes it easy to control, but I run out of ink faster. This one's called a lettering brush. It's got a long head to it, and it holds lots of ink. It doesn't run out as quickly, but it's also harder to control. It's like the difference between choking up on a bat and getting more control out of it that way. So I'm not going to use this. Or I've got just regular old Sharpie where I can kind of, you know, just draw with the Sharpie. There's nothing wrong with just the good old Sharpie. You'll notice, like, sometimes my lines have less flair to them. They're kind of just chunky lines, which is fine. But I'm going to use myself, I'm going to use this one right here today. I use different ones all the time, but this one I'm going to use today. I really like this one, but it does smear sometimes when it gets wet. So, now that I talked a little bit about pens, I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to get the eyes, but I'm not going to carefully trace my lines. I don't want to lose all that great energy I got. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to redraw it with some speed and energy. And it will take some time for you to practice inking with speed and energy. And at first, you might be like, oh, I got to be careful and slow, and it'll look better that way. And maybe it'll look better at the beginning, but in the long run, it's not going to look better. In the long run, what's going to happen is your lines will always be slow, and they'll never have that great energy that attracts people to your line work. So you have to practice those skills to get to that point, whether you like it or not. And for some of us who've learned to do stuff, like I learned to draw the other way, and it took me a while to learn how to break those habits and start over. So if you got bad habits, it's a good thing to break them now. Notice how I'm not exactly copying everything. I'm kind of just redrawing it to keep that energy. I don't want to be a slave to my lines. That's what I say. Don't be a slave to your line work. Redraw it. Keep that energy fresh and bold. You're in charge. Notice none of the construction lines get Sharpied. Only the lines that I really want to have stay are getting Sharpied. And even then, I'm allowing the lines to change a little bit to change the character of my drawing. I feel like I should have drawn a little hair over there to show that. So some of it's changing as I go. You'll notice I added a shark tooth necklace to this kid, little surfer boy. He's got like one of those shell necklaces that he's hanging it on. I thought he needed a little more chin there because I had his mouth open, so I just added it. I didn't worry that my original line was different than that. If I make a mistake with the ink, I have to go with it. It just is what it is. And so I'm trying to find the curve that's right for my hand. So sometimes that means that, going up to down, down to up, back towards me. You have to just play with it. Now, there is a style choice for me to just literally draw this eyebrow as if it's floating on top. I am not going to do that. But if you do that kind of stuff, that's okay. That's kind of an anime vibe. I decided a few things, like his eyebrow should be empty, like it's blonde. His hair should go all the way back to his neck. So a few decisions were made along the way. I think if he's like this little surf kid, maybe he's, at the beach, you gotta show his nips. Okay? So I'm gonna continue inking these. You can get started inking yours with whatever you've got available. And then when I'm done, what I will do is find the best eraser I've got, and you got to get the best eraser you've got, and erase some of this. Let's see if I've got a... Anyway, I don't have the right eraser for this, but I'm going to use this stick eraser. And then once I erase these construction lines that help me build it, and I'm left with just the ink drawing, I've got something pretty clean and good looking that I could either put in the computer and color in the computer easily, or I could color it with markers or color pencils or something like that. So you guys could kind of see how inking it and then erasing all that stuff you used to build it can really end up with a well-constructed, nice-looking drawing. Okay? Alright, and then I'm going to just finish inking the rest of these, so you guys can go ahead and do your own thing and work on your inking. Okay? Go for it. It should be finished, turned in by the end of class today. It's okay if you copied mine today. We'll be moving forward talking about different things you could do to be original later on.